what happens when you do an EMF reading in the tunnels beneath this castle?
Will we meet the prisoners of war rumored to still linger in their basement cells?
Can we make it through our investigation?
Find out the answers to these questions and more as we investigate the storied hauntings and history of Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri in person.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Erica.
And this is the Haunted Atlas Halloween Special 2025.
In the interest of fully exploring history of certain locations, the Haunted Atlas may discuss sensitive or disturbing topics. Listener discretion is advised.
Surrounded by a chain link fence, a castle stands in contrast to the rural surroundings of Springfield, Missouri. With a history ranging from a group home to a prisoner of war interrogation site, this castle offers a dark history and even rumors of ghosts. Tonight, we're here to dive in and explore it ourselves. We are in Pythian Castle right now. So throughout this episode, you're going to hear us describing the different rooms. You're going to hear the history as we move throughout the castle in real time with us. And we might even get to some investigating. Currently, we're seated in the entry hall of Pythian Castle in front of this gigantic mirror fireplace combination.
The mirror, though, does look like one of those funhouse mirrors. I do not think that is an accurate mirror.
I'm wondering if it's one of those silver-backed mirrors, like they used to be. You know, they were painted with actual metallic silver.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was a historical way that mirrors were created.
Gotcha. That does make sense.
So what are you feeling in this space? This is just the entryway. We haven't really gotten into the castle itself yet. How do you feel?
Honestly, I feel more of the fact that we're standing in a historical building at this point than I do feel paranormal essences here. I feel like I'm so focused on just like the wood and the paintings that are in the front room that are really cool. There's like one of two dogs on one side of the wall, and then there's another on another side of the wall that's like two kids that I'm assuming are siblings, kind of like messing around is what it looks like. And it's really cute.
It's interesting to me that the art is catching your eye because for me, what is setting the ambiance is really the light fixtures because they have the flickering faux candle style lights. The lights are kind of dim. There's beautiful chandeliers. So to me, that's really setting like the historical, potentially haunted vibes from the get-go for me. How are you feeling about investigating?
I am nervous, admittedly, like always, but I feel like I'm at like a 2, which is a step down for me because when we've done investigations in the past, it's been like a 5 to 6, like even before we got started. So I'm making progress, but still nervous.
Well, let's get into the history and then you can see if that rating changes at all.
Yay!
The castle was built by the Knights of Pythias as a home for their members. It was meant to house orphans and the elderly, as this is a 40,000 square foot castle.
It's huge. It looks like that from the outside, to be honest, but even just hearing that number is insane.
And we're going to cover every square foot tonight. Absolutely not. We will get to as many spaces as we can. It was built in 1913, and it's located in Springfield, Missouri. It was later seized by the U.S. government during World War II. They kept German, Italian, and Japanese prisoners of war in the cells in the basement for interrogation. They also used it to help U.S. troops recover, often bringing in entertainment for them.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, so immediately the past here is greatly varied. We see that it was this kind of fraternal order that had the castle built, but then it really switches completely from something that was more recreational to very militant.
Yeah, what surprises me is that it was built in 1913, because I feel like, to me anyway, that's really modern for like a knight society to still exist. I don't think in my head I knew that they still existed in the early 1900s.
And when you think about the fact that it functioned for the Knights until it was seized in World War II, that's about, 30-ish years that it was functioning. The building is on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places, and it's built primarily out of limestone, which we know is known to amplify paranormal activity. There are too many rooms to name, but to name a few exciting ones, there's the bowling alley, the dining hall, there's theater, and there's also dorms.
Did you say a bowling hall?
Bowling alley.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they built in these entertainment pieces for the soldiers, for the knights, etc., because this was really meant to be a place to draw people to come. Before Pythian even served as a hospital, over 100 people died here.
That is a lot.
Yes, but if you remember, this was a place for the elderly and orphans.
Oh.
So that makes a little more sense.
Yes. If like the elderly are staying here, I would assume that may have been most of the deaths. And again, that's an assumption.
Correct. There are no public records from the military times here, so we can't provide an estimate of how many people died during that time period, but we do know before that it was over 100 people. And currently you can visit the castle, obviously, but there are a variety of ways that you can experience it yourself. They have ghost tours, private investigations, historical tours, and even murder mystery nights. Tonight we'll be visiting some of the hotspots of reported paranormal activity in the building and seeing what we experience ourselves. We're going to start with the former orphanage area, which is located upstairs in the castle. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. So currently we're standing in Petey's room, and what are you experiencing as you look around?
This is a lot emptier than I thought a bedroom would be, and I'm not really sure who Petey is just yet, but based on the objects in the room, I'm assuming that they're a child. The other unique thing I feel in this room is the windows to me kind of make it seem almost like a business warehouse rather than it being a bedroom, because the windows are kind of like from the ceiling to about 3/4 of the way down, and big windows like that remind me of businesses in the modern day.
I do agree with that. It doesn't really feel like a bedroom per se, but when you think about the fact that this was an orphanage and there would likely have been dozens of people staying in this one room, it does make sense to me that it's so vast. Just to orient the listeners on what is actually in this room, because it is rather sparse, there's a bed along the far wall. There are oversized blocks in the middle of the room, and on the blocks there are some toys. Some of them are left by people that have come for tours, and some of them are left by the owners of the castle. There's also a rocking horse that's over closer to us, and we're standing in a pop-out of windows towards the front of the castle.
I will say the one thing I did notice when we walked in is that there seems to be a particular smell in this room that I didn't smell on the stairs right outside. And I don't particularly know exactly how to describe it, but it's almost like kind of like a locker room, but less intense.
It's interesting that you say that, because my thought would be overall it could be the humidity, it's been in the 80s during the day, but the fact that you are only smelling it specifically in this room kind of negates that argument. I don't smell anything very strong, so it's interesting that that could be just you experiencing it.
Yeah.
So the main paranormal claim of this room is that women of childbearing age receive some sort of paranormal interaction. That could be hearing voices, feeling someone pulling on their hair, their clothes, etc. And that's because the thought is the people that are here, this room specifically primarily housed boys, are looking for some sort of guardian. And the people that are in this room could potentially have been the people that would have worked at the orphanage if the hauntings aren't intelligent.
Gotcha. That does make sense.
And people have captured strange images in this room, with many images seeming to contain strange glowing objects. I was here previously on an investigation, and I caught a strange glowing object in this room, actually right where you're standing.
Oh, great. Awesome.
And I was so interested in what it could be that I sent the photo to the people that work here at Pythian Castle and asked them if they had any idea, has this been routinely captured in any photo? And they said no. I'll show you the image after, but it looks almost like a glowing spoon on the floor right there.
That's actually what I was going to ask you, is when you say glowing object, is it sort of like just an orb, or do people capture photos of like real object shaped things?
Primarily it seems like it's orbs, but the one that I took, I guess it could have been an orb smeared. We can show it to you and get your opinion as well. Investigators have said that if you sit on the ground in this location where I got the strange photo, that a child will climb onto your lap for story time.
Oh, That's very sweet.
I know. It's a very sweet haunting. And so people report feeling that sensation if they sit cross-legged or with their legs out. And again, for so long, the occupants of this room were orphans. So I think that makes sense.
Yes,
Now,
definitely.
the part that you're going to love,
Great.
we're going to try it with EMF readers.
Yay!
So let's get on the ground
Yes.
and see how this goes. All right. So we are talking to Petey and any other spirits that might be here. And we are inviting you here for story time. I myself am a new mom, so I would love to read you a story. I love to read stories to my daughter. And we're happy to provide you any sense of comfort that we can at this time. So feel free, if you're here and you're interested, you can sit on the rocking horse if you'd like. You're welcome to come sit in our laps, come sit near us. We would love to interact with you.
Who's ready for story time?
I'm wondering if there's anybody here, what your favorite story is.
I was going to ask the same question. You could also, if you feel more comfortable, sit on the rocking horse in front of us to listen to the story.
That's a train outside for the recorder. And if you're too shy to come over right away, you're welcome to stand back. But if you want to tell us what your name is, and maybe you don't like to read, that's okay. There are some toys on the blocks. You can feel free to grab one and play with it. Or like Erica said, there's the rocking horse right in front of us. It looks very fun. So while this room was used primarily in the orphanage, the room that we're going to head to next is the theater. And while it could have been used during the orphanage time period, it was used frequently during the time that soldiers were here, and it was also used when the knights were here as well, but it primarily would have been used for more of the adults. So let's head over to the theater now. We're now seated in the audience of the theater, really, and this is vastly different from Petey's room. Here we have the audience, which is set up with tons of chairs. There's the stage itself, which has dim lighting on it. There's actually a setup on the stage right now that's floral, which could be anything from a wedding to a funeral.
It actually reminds me of like old Western stage shows up there, you know, with the way that the flowers are arranged. I don't know why, and I don't know if that's even accurate because it's based on my opinion from film. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's what it reminds me of, like the one-person stage shows where people made speeches.
That's interesting. I can definitely see how you're seeing that. To me, what stands out about this location is in Petey's room, the windows were barren and it was pretty bare bones, but here it very much so feels more in use and alive to me. We see these beautiful heavy curtains on the windows, the light fixtures still hanging. We still have the audio booth for the theater in the back. So to me, it seems very much more alive, for lack of a better term.
Yes, and I think the curtains make sense because I'm assuming they did want to block out the light in this room specifically. And I'm wondering if in the bedroom they tried to get as much light in there as possible. And that's why there wasn't as well, assumedly, because there's no curtains there now. I don't know if there were curtains there back in the day, but I'm assuming for the orphanage's sake, they did want like light getting in there.
Sure. And what is interesting to me about this room, which I haven't really seen in many other theaters, is the sections on the side. This room is large, but it's definitely not a standard stage theater, we'll say. However, they still have these beautiful dark wood cutouts that are on different levels throughout the theater where you could put seats, tables, etc. So it feels like there is a lot of possibilities for how the space could be used. Mm-hmm. Now that you are looking at the theater. How are you feeling that might be different or the same to PD's room?
Well, the smell is gone. I will say that. I don't smell anything in particular in here. And feeling-wise, I feel like I'm at a pretty baseline feeling.
The hauntings here are vastly different than in PD's room, of course, given that the subject matter of the room is so different. Here, a lot of the hauntings are captured on camera. The castle actually compiles all of the images that people send in, and at the beginning of their haunted tour, shows you a slideshow of them.
Oh, that's really cool.
It is, and it gives you a chance to see the wide variety of things that are captured. Of course, we have spirit orbs that show up on tons of photos, but those can often be debated as light abnormalities, especially here in low light with all of the windows. You could have a lot of light abnormalities. However, there are a few that are of note because they show actual figures, and 3 specifically that I'm going to get into. The first is a shadow figure that appeared to be running up the aisle of the theater.
That's interesting. It's not a really long aisle.
It isn't. And thinking of this shadow figure and thinking of everything that, this castle has held, I am left with the question of who it was and where they're going. Was it an actor running off for a scene change? Was it one of the kids running around and exploring and maybe they weren't supposed to be in the theater?
Yeah.
What do you think could be an explanation?
I'm almost wondering if it's an audience member that needed to leave in a hurry. I don't really know, why they would be back here in their afterlife, because if it was a situation where they were just here for one play, maybe that doesn't make a ton of sense when we think about significance-wise someone being here in a haunting. But something running up an aisle, maybe an actor, but usually if they have to run off, they would go backstage.
That is true, but I think what you said about an audience member only being here once wouldn't necessarily be true if it was one of the orphanage members or one of the knights that was here, or even one of the soldiers.
That's true.
Because we do know that they would bring in entertainment for the soldiers. So it could have been someone that was, for lack of a better term, a resident here.
Yeah.
Or frequented it.
That's fair. For a second, I forgot this was in a bigger castle. You know
Right.
what I mean? I was thinking about it in terms of it just being a theater.
Yeah, and to keep everyone that's listening oriented on where we are in the castle, we're located on the 2nd floor, directly up from the stairs down the hall from PD's room. The second image that I want to talk about is a blurred full body apparition. And the theater is said to be one of the most active rooms in the castle, so it's no surprise to me that we're getting both shadow figures and full body apparitions in here.
Yes, agreed.
The final image is the most interesting to me. And this was taken of a tour group. So imagine you're here with your friends going through on the tour, and you turn to take a selfie. You're looking at your photos later that night, and you realize there's someone in the photo that wasn't in your tour group.
I thought that might be what we were going to get into.
And the people thought, who could this be? Honestly, the figure looks like Nosferatu to me, but they sent it in because the people that own the castle do collect all of these photos. And they said, was there anybody on the tour tonight that looked like this that you can remember? They might have slipped in the back of the photo, maybe they're photobombing. And they said no, that there was no one that looked like that. So this is thought to be one of the spirits here that is just popping up in the back of the photo. What's interesting about it is it's not like the spirit's on the other side of the room. The spirit was standing in the group right next to them as if it was part of the group.
Don't love that. I think that makes sense. When you think about how much passion is in a theater, I think it does make sense that it's one of the most active rooms because I think the passion and the emotions are sometimes what cause and create hauntings.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense. I'm wondering if they were like, oh, a company, and just joined the picture.
That's interesting. You're thinking like a troupe of actors, because I was thinking, again, going back to the historical uses, is it a group of soldiers that thinks, oh, I'm part of the group, or a group of the knights, where it might not be an intelligent haunting that realizes that they are a ghost just getting into the photo.
Yeah, because if a lot of people came in and out of the castle, then it's possible that as you went about your daily life, you may not have known everyone. So the spirit may have been like, well, I don't know them, but I'm here. So.
Absolutely. Another interesting part of the tour is they share EVPs captured by guests specific to this room, and they play it through the theater speakers, so it kind of is all-encompassing when you hear them.
Yeah.
Now, when they play these for the guests, they don't tell you immediately what they think it's saying. Instead, they have the guests interpret it. So it's driven by the guests based on what they're hearing. And some of the things included are words like, "I was tortured here," and other statements that would be congruent with the time that the building was used for prisoners of war.
Oh, no.
Now, could it be someone playing a joke? Yeah, there's always that. Could it be the fact that that's not exactly what they said? Correct. You know, it could be
Right.
any of these things. But there were other EVPs that, you know, could have belonged to either the knights or the soldiers because, again, there are similarities between those groups with the whole kind of camaraderie, group identity.
And now the EVPs are played in here. They're not all taken from in here, though.
Correct, but most of them are taken
See,
in here.
That's interesting to me that a spirit that's possibly from the prisoner of war era is up here.
It doesn't necessarily because it would be a prisoner.
Yeah, like assumedly if the EVP it sounds like it's from that era and so then also assumedly was coming from a prisoner, I'm interested in knowing like why they're up here and how they got up here.
That is an interesting concept. It's like they roam the whole castle in their afterlife.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if because again, assuming that they couldn't leave their cells in the basement, so maybe this is their way of like exploring the rest of the castle in their afterlife because they weren't able to leave when they were alive.
That could be. That could be. I like that theory. What we're going to try to do now is we're going to take some photos of ourselves and try to replicate these images. Is anything showing up with us? Are we capturing any shadow figures? So we'll kind of walk around, take photos together and separately of the room and see if there's anything that we get. And then we'll move to our next destination.
Great. I'm honestly not super scared of the paranormal one in this activity. It's just I hate taking pictures of myself.
Well,
so that's
let's take one of us together right here. Oh, you cannot even see us.
I think I definitely blinked.
I mean, it's more about the content of the photo that's not
That's
us
fair.
than it
I'm
is.
okay with blinking photos. That's
If you are a spirit in the theater, we invite you to show up in these photos with us. We would love to see you.
Does that door look open to you?
This door?
Yeah. Is that open in real life?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it's just the reflection.
okay. That really freaked me out first. I was about to be like,
I was thinking this was something, but it's just the flower.
I think so.
Yeah. What's nice is we can compare in real time. I think looking along the walls, it always looks like there could be foggy something, but okay. Here's us and the stage. I'm turned towards the stage.
There's that's probably from the exit light though. Looks
Yeah,
like.
that's the exit
Yeah.
light. Now, there's that circle there, which many people would say is a spirit orb, but I think we can definitively say is a light abnormality. What do you think?
Yeah, I think from the flash.
Again, us looking around. I don't really see anything.
No, I don't see anything in the windows either.
It's a cool photo.
That is.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
great. Just streaks. Okay, I was really interested in how these would turn out, the ones of us posed.
Yeah.
And again, I think we see, some blurring potential spirit orbs. Interestingly, my EMF reader is getting activity right now. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it's valid. You see the streaking I'm referring to? Like there,
Oh yeah. What is?
and then over here. I think that could also be light abnormality.
Yeah.
Here's without flash. We don't see anything else in there. Even with the flash here, we don't see. Okay, well, no one really wanted to be in our photos. Yeah, I would say that because this streaking is kind of throughout,
Yeah.
that
It's
it's
not-
an abnormality from the flash.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, none of the spirits wanted to be in our photos tonight. So we've spent most of our time on top of the castle, the top floor. Next, we're going to be moving down into the tunnels. It's going to get darker, both haunting-wise, history, and physically darker. How are you feeling going into the tunnels?
A little more nervous than being upstairs, but I'm feeling ready to do so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm ready.
So we're going to go back down these stairs. There's actually stairs underneath these that lead us directly down to tunnel
Oh,
access.
perfect.
So let's get into it. So here we are now in the tunnels, and you can probably hear that we're in this underground tunnel. There's a significant echo here, and it's very damp, very musty down here. There's a stone floor that has pools of water on it, tons of piping, and the lights only go so far in this tunnel, so there's kind of an ominous, dark ending. What else do you want to point out, Erica?
Yeah, to your point, it literally is the opposite of the light at the end of the tunnel, to be honest. It's completely dark down there. But other than that, yeah, just a tunnel.
Yeah, very echoey, and you can definitely feel that we're in a different sort of space than the rest of the castle. This clearly is not air conditioned, either hot or cold or humidity wise. Now to talk about the hauntings.
Great.
There is a very significant haunting that is specific to these tunnels. There's a spirit here known as Mr. Boots, and people think that Mr. Boots is an old worker. That would make sense given that these tunnels were used, to transport, well, I don't know about transporting stuff. Given that if something went wrong with the water, the pipes, you would need to use this tunnel to fix it likely.
Gotcha.
Visitors have captured photos of what many believe is Mr. Boots in the basement and in this very tunnel where we're standing.
Okay, so he kind of roams.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why people think he's a worker. He was not only in the tunnels, but kind of in this boiler room-esque area. People also report high EMF activity in the tunnels and in the basement in general. For us, we're not really getting any activity right now, to be quite honest. But the most prominent haunting here is how he gets his name, Mr. Boots, the stomping of boots. So we're gonna take a second, we're gonna be really quiet, see if we can hear anything, see if we can record anything. And Mr. Boots, if you are down here, my name's Sarah, I'm here with my friend Erica. We're interested in learning about the history and hauntings of Pythian Castle, and we would love for you to either show up or to stomp along the corridor so we can hear you. So we'll give you about 10 seconds of quiet time to make yourself known. I personally did not hear anything, did you?
No, I did not hear anything either.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see if we're gonna hear anything back on the recording. And now, you are going to alone go down the tunnel
Yes, with an EMF reader.
with an EMF reader.
Yeah. All right, we're starting my journey. Mr. Boots, if you're here, I hope I'm not bothering you. Just taking a walk. All right, so far, no EMF activity. Oh, all right, we're at about a 4, although I will say we are in a tunnel with pipes around me, so could possibly be that. Let's see. There's a bucket of water on the floor. There's a hole here where the castle seems to have put a fake skull with which is fun. And I don't see anything. Mr. Boots? Holy Christmas. Wonderful. Well, I went farther than I thought I was gonna go.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of you.
Could you see me, or was it dark where
It was dark.
Huh.
We are currently standing in one of the prisoner of war cells in the basement of Pythian Castle. And this cell is really well known within the castle because there's actually a mural that's painted on the wall. And this was allegedly painted by one of the Japanese prisoners of war that was down here. And it depicts the Japanese countryside and then a rising sun, as well as has some characters written over the sun. Many have interacted with what they believe to be Italian prisoner of war spirits down here, because remember, it was Japanese, Italian, and German.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, some areas of the basement are sectioned off because the locations are attributed to negative activity. People reported being scratched, pushed, etc.
Oh, okay, so kind of harmful.
Yeah, and if you think about the spirits down here, they were prisoners of war. It would make sense that they would have some anger or even some potential violence built up to defend themselves, get out, escape. We don't know exactly what reason.
Yes.
So what we're going to do to see if we can engage with these spirits, because Italian is the most prominent type of spirit that seems to be here, we're going to translate some Italian phrases. Cool. And see if we get a response.
Yes.
Starting with our first question.
C'è qualcuno qui?
And that was, is anyone here?
Come ti chiami?
And that was, what is your name?
Dov'è casa tua?
And that is, where is your home?
Quando sei stato qui?
And that was, when were you here?
So I didn't hear anything in real time there. Did
I
you?
didn't either.
Okay, it'll be interesting to do the playback. We are wrapping up our investigation of Pythian in the room where we started, which is in the entrance hall. But as we wind down, I want to share a few more interesting stories of the paranormal activity here from the building's owner, who claims that there are at least a dozen distinct spirits here. She has said that she's heard a woman's voice saying hello at the entrance to the stairs, and you saw today, that's a very grand entryway.
Yes, I almost think that it makes sense that she might hear that because of the fact that it's probably going to echo through the hallway, you know? And it seems like the logical place where someone would be greeting their guests.
What's interesting is not only did the owner hear this, but a guest heard it then, a week later.
Oh.
There have been sightings of children in the upstairs rooms, which again makes sense since the dorms were up there and the theater's up there. We spent some time in Petey's room tonight, so I think it's not abnormal to see child spirits in a location where children frequently were located.
Yes.
She said that she's also often woken up by spirits when she stays overnight here. Specifically, on one occasion, she was woken up by the sound of gunshots and saw a man above her in an army uniform. She said it happens so frequently that she will sometimes tell them, not tonight, and then they'll leave her alone.
Oh my gosh. That's kind of funny that she can like have a communication line with them.
Right, and that she's so desensitized to the hauntings that she feels comfortable saying, nope, I'm not choosing to engage with this, and just going back to sleep.
But that first haunting you talked about was terrifying. I can't imagine waking up to somebody standing over me after hearing gunshots.
I guess if you're just here and used to it and know you're staying in a haunted castle, it might just seem normal to you.
Yeah, true.
People that have gone on previous tours have reported hearing voices when no one is talking and they're completely alone. They've also reported being touched by the spirits. People report hearing children running above them, and when you're there for a tour, you are the only people on the multiple floors of the castle. So when we arrived, we were waiting for the tour to finish, and the access to the back of the castle past the entryway was chained off.
Yes.
That means that if you are here for a ghost tour, there should not be anyone on the upper floors. Can we definitively say there never is? No. You can't speak in absolutes.
Right.
There could always be a staff person wandering around up there. However, hearing children running up there, you're not likely to have children in the castle late at night, especially when it's sectioned off. In fact, they actually chain off the driveway, so people can't even drive their cars down. I think that must be the spirits of the orphans that are up there, or even maybe when the soldiers were here, maybe some of them brought their children. There could be a lot of potential explanations.
I agree, though. I think that this particular haunting matches the history. Like, it makes the most sense to me that there would be children spirits on the upper floors.
Now that we've gone through Pythian Castle, you've seen it for yourself. How do you feel being in this building?
I feel pretty good, honestly. I think I was a little bit nervous in the basement. I think that was probably the most anxious I felt throughout the night, but I do feel pretty comfortable here. I feel like I didn't have any negative connotations walking through the building.
And the feeling that you had in the basement of being more on edge, do you think that's the nature of the basement, or do you think that could have potentially been paranormal influence?
That's a good question. I think that one almost might have been a bit of paranormal influence. I think there was the normal anxious feeling of being in a basement because, of course, like all basements are terrifying, even my own.
And did it happen anywhere specific in the basement, or was it just in general? For example, was it in the tunnels, the cell, walking through the basement, or just overall?
It was mostly in that boiler room.
Okay.
That I felt it, and in the tunnels. And I know, of course, like I walked to the back, so that also could have like caused some anxiety without paranormal influence, but I don't know, it just felt different down there.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the tunnels kind of have a sense of you shouldn't be here. And
Yes.
And maybe that's because we don't know how to work things in a boiler room. So it could be that it was more uncomfortable physically down there with the humidity and the tight space. So that could play a role. I don't know that I can definitively, for me, say it was paranormal influence, but there's always that possibility.
Mm-hmm.
What was the most interesting moment here?
For me, definitely the tunnels. I feel like that took a lot for me to keep going. Like I had to keep telling myself, like, it's just a step. Like you just have to keep taking a step forward and you'll keep moving forward. So that for me was interesting because I feel like I really pushed myself to go like as far as I could.
I also had, I think my most interesting experience was the basement. Not necessarily in the boiler room, but when we were walking towards the prisoner of war cells, we heard some machine going off. And I think that kind of piqued our interest in general. But then when we were standing in the cell, it could be just knowing the history and the weight of the history there. But I was just getting an off feeling. And what's interesting is some of the people that we're investigating with said that they heard someone walking around outside the cell. So there could have been, some paranormal influence there of maybe in the back of my mind sensing someone was walking around outside.
Yes.
If you're visiting Springfield, Missouri, or even if you aren't, I highly recommend a visit to Pythian Castle. I think the history here is interesting. The architecture is beautiful. I think there's definitely some activity here. Even if you don't experience any of the paranormal activity yourself, there are so many accounts of what has happened here with hauntings. I highly recommend that you check it out.
I do recommend it. And honestly, I really recommend people walking along the tunnel.
It's very accessible for various levels of paranormal encounter, depending on how comfortable you feel with it. And finally, I want to wish a happy Halloween to all of our listeners. Thank you so much for joining us on our investigation of Pythian Castle tonight. We hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did, and be sure to check it out if you're ever in the Springfield area. If you have already been to Pythian Castle, we would love to hear about your experiences. You can email the team at hauntedus.com and include Pythian Castle in the subject, Or find us on social media at Haunted
Tune into
US.
our
Next episode to see where we drop the pin on our adventure across the Haunted US. This episode of Haunted Atlas was presented by Sarah Sweeney and Erica Barrett. It was researched by Sarah Sweeney, supported by research from Haunted US head writer Mitch Goff, with production assistance by David Sweeney, Mitch Goff, and Brandon Rugsey, and music by Colleen Johnson. Our executive producer is Brandon Rugsey. Haunted Atlas is a production of Haunted US. Visit hauntedus.com for more information.